Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate breakdown for Wednesday, September 13th. Got to throw out a quick little happy birthday, Mom, as it is her birthday. Little shout out in case she watches today. Before we get into it, what we're going to go over today is we're going to start with the perfect lineups and the winning lineups from yesterday's contest on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Then we're going to go into the projected ownership at pitcher and some pitchers to consider. And lastly, we will do the same for the baseball stacks. Now, if you are not already, come join us at LineStar. It is only $39.99 a month, and it gets you access to all of our props, all of our DFS for all the sports we cover. You also get access to chat, where you can learn a lot from everybody in there if you just pay attention. And, go along with some of the joking around, but also there is some real serious DFS talk that can help everybody. All right. As always, please comment, like, subscribe to our channel, all of that stuff, so we can keep giving all this content out for free. Now, let's get into the fun. All right. Perfect lineup. Here we go. All right, we got Jose Abudo and Brian Wu coming in. Wu was chalky, and he came through. Then we got a little Dodger stack and a little Mets stack. And then two Coors guys and a minor leaguer that went off. So, nice little lineup. Used up almost all of the salary. And the winning lineup, we actually had two people with this lineup. Boone Dada and F.J. Bourne came together. They both had Crawford and Wu with a Dodger stack that just went nuts. So it was a 5-man Dodger stack, 2-man Boston, and a one-off of Suzuki, which got it done. Actually, kind of surprising that this was a duped lineup. It is, fairly contrarian, not super contrarian, but enough so that it shouldn't be duped. So just some bad luck for F.J. Bourne and Boo Dada. I mean, not that bad of luck. They still won, but they had to split the prize and won $35K opposed to $50. So congrats to them. Nice work. Nice lineup. Once again, that 5-2-1 got it done. And now let's get over to FanDuel, where we got Zach Little as the pitcher of note. And once again, Dodger stack. Then all one-offs from that. So we had a bunch of good guys that had very good games. And one-offs is what was the story for the perfect lineup, which, as we always talk about, look, the perfect lineup is impossible to nail. You need to add some correlation into it, and, that's what most of the winners do, so don't be trying to get that perfect lineup. All right, the winning lineup, need lunch money, dough. He had Zach Little, 4-man Dodger stack, 3-man Cubs, and a one-off of Chris Bryant. So same game, which, obviously isn't a ton of correlation there, but at least it is the same hitting environment. So there is a little bit of correlation, but not a ton there. But all in all, 4-3-1, great lineup. They got it done with good old Zach Little, who just had a spectacular game going 7 innings and 8 Ks. Pretty surprising, but unfortunately, he still lost the game. All in all, though, great lineup, need lunch money. He actually did win 2 other contests, I believe, with this same lineup. He won the 50K home run and then something else. So he had quite the day on FanDuel. Now, let's get into today's stuff here. So, no surprise. One of the things I need to go over straight away before we really get into it. So, FanDuel has the 335, 340 games involved. DraftKings does not. FanDuel also does not have the late game. So it doesn't have the Padres and Dodgers. So we do have some kind of weird correlation here going on, and I will try my best to include all of them. It is just hard. For the stacks today, we are going to have to flip around a little bit to see it, so bear with me. Might take a little bit longer, but I'm trying to give both sites their due and their credit. So for pitching, same thing. I'm gonna have to flip back and forth like I normally do, but it is just a very interesting thing to remember. And because of that, we will probably stick on FanDuel a little more than we usually do. And that is where we're going to start for pitching today. And then I'll go to DraftKings afterwards, just because this is how I can get to majority of the pitchers. All right, so no surprise, Spencer Strider, highest owned, 11.8K, 35%. Now he's got a tough matchup versus the Phillies, but he has crushed them in the past. 180 average, so 38% K rate. He's done pretty well. So 28% combined K rate. We know Strider is amazing. He is allowing a few stolen bases here, but that K rate is good. He is solid. There's winds blowing in Philly today, which is a little nice and can help him maybe keep a ball or two in the yard. Look, Strider is great. He had an off game last game, but we don't see him have 2 off games in a row very often. I think it makes a lot of sense to go here. But Philly is a good offense, and they're hitting well right now. Trey Turner is finally hot. Harper's hitting well. Schwarbaum has been hitting some homers lately. So it is, not an easy road for Strider. And you got to pay a pretty nice tag to get him. Next, Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown is the guy that I think should probably be the highest owned on FanDuel. He has that cake matchup versus Oakland. He's been good all season. He works deep into games. The one thing that I do have to bring up is he's actually been a similar pitcher lately than he has been all season. However, his ERA is way, way elevated. 8.5 ERA versus a 4.4 FIP over his last 5 starts. So he's had some bad luck here. I don't expect that to continue, especially not against Oakland. And if people are shying away from him, I'm definitely going to be taking him later today. Next, we got Zach Gallen, 10.6K versus the Mets. Mets are striking out 24%. They are a decent offense versus righties. Gallen has been insane all season. The one thing is that he is worse away, averaging 36% less fantasy points away. However, he was just in Chicago and absolutely lit them up with 9 innings, 9 strikeouts of no run ball. So, by all means, he can have a good game away. I don't mind going to Gallen, especially at lower ownership and, a decent 25% combined K rate. Connor Phillips is a very interesting one. So he is super cheap. He didn't do much his last time out versus Seattle, but reminder, this is a very good Seattle offense that is hot right now. So it makes some sense that he struggled versus them. This is a guy that has around a 3.5 ERA in the minors, but he has 150 strikeouts in like 100 innings. The guy has major strikeout upside. So at this price, versus a team like the Tigers who strikes out 26%, it's very interesting. You're getting a guy at 6.5K with almost a 30% combined K rate. I like the spot for Connor Phillips, especially with him not going, with him going high owned. Now there is some risk. This is a spot you could probably play both sides of it. He gave up 5 runs, only went 4.2 innings versus the Mariners. He could do that against the Tigers. Tigers aren't as good of an offense, but hey, they've been no slouch lately. They've been hitting decently. So they absolutely could, get to him. I think you can play both sides of this, but I do really like Connor Phillips. Colin Ray, I don't love it. He is cheap, but I just don't think the upside's there on this big of a slate. Paul Blackburn, same thing. Don't really like it. Montgomery, I think he's priced a little too high. Kikuchi is definitely interesting. We've talked about him a lot. He's been pitching very good, has a very, very solid K rate. Versus the Rangers, though, which is a very tough matchup. But when Kikuchi's on, he has a very huge ceiling, and at very low ownership, at least should be interesting. Mike Clevinger, man, has this guy changed my tune lately. So he was a guy that I kind of like to pick on, like to fade in prop bets, and he has been super good lately. Kind of seems like he might be back into form a little bit. 3.15 FIP, 25% K rate, keeping those walks down. He's been very interesting, and versus the Royals offense, that is okay. That they hit the ball pretty hard. 190 ISO versus righties, 330 WOBA. But Clevinger has been good. He's averaging more fantasy points at home, 21% more. And you can get to this Royals lineup. So at only 9K on FanDuel, he is interesting to me. You got to bring up Erod here. Just because of the fact that Cincinnati versus lefties aren't quite as good. Strikeout 23%, a 320 WOBA. And Erod is really good. 3.05 FIP over his last 20 starts, 25% K rate. He has faded a little bit in the near term, but he has faced some very good offenses. So give him a little pass for that. I think he is interesting going unowned versus Cincinnati is slightly interesting here. All right, so that is all of FanDuel here. Obviously, I think the three top guys are very interesting. Connor Phillips, I'm very interested in. And Phillips and Gallen are probably my lower owned guys that I'm really going to push for, I would say. All right, now let's go to the DraftKings pitching here. So Snell and Papoy are the two that we did not go over, so we'll go over them now. 22% owned, Snell, 10.1K. Look, for the level of pitcher that he has been this year, he's probably going a little unowned. Or a little lower owned than he should. However, it is a very tough matchup. But if anybody can excel in this matchup, it is Snell. His stuff is ridiculous. However, he hasn't really got it going versus the Dodgers all season, and only had one start last season where he did. So with that, I am a little cautious of using him. Now, his upside is there. 26% combined K rates, solid. He's been decent versus the Dodgers in his past. My worry here is just I don't know if the upside is fully there today. I think he's going to have a good game. I just don't think he's going to have a great game. And that's what we really need for these big GPPs. Ryan Papoy. All right, look, he's been pitching very, very good. 2.6 FIP. One thing I need to bring up is they're keeping him low on pitch count. 84 last time. 84 the time out before that. 76 the time before that. 75 the start before that. So he isn't going to go super deep into this game. We know that. Also, Padres are decent versus righties and don't strike out a ton. The other thing here that I got to bring up is this is a guy that in the minors and last year had like a 1.5, 1.6 home run per 9 rate. Right now his home run per 9 rate is 0.4. Earlier this season in AAA, it's 1.6. I don't think this home run rate is going to stay for him. I do expect him to start giving up some home runs, and with that, his FIP, his ERA, everything is going to rise. I do see some regression here. Does it happen today? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be all in on Ryan Papoy at this point. Is he a decent spot? Absolutely, and you can totally consider him at low ownership. Just know that I don't think he's quite the pitcher he's been these first 4 starts. So outside of that, let's run it down. So on DK, there is no Strider. So Gallen and Brown are the 2 highest owned. They are definitely my 2 favorite. There's also no Colin Phillips or Connor Phillips. Colin Ray is there. He's cheap, so I don't really mind it, but I don't like it. Clevenger I do like. Snell is interesting. Braxton Garrett versus the Brewers is a little interesting. We've seen him have some real nice upside. Just hasn't really done it lately, and this Brewers team actually hits lefties hard, so I don't like it quite as much. Tanner Hook. He's been getting shelled, and he's not working very deep into games. Clark Schmidt has been fairly good lately with the elevated K rate, but I think his K rate is coming back down to earth a little bit. And he's in a fairly tough hitting environment there. I think Joey Lucchesi is probably priced a little low than he should be. His strikeout line is only 3.5 Ks right now. I have bet that higher. I do think he gets to 4 plus. So he is kind of interesting at 6,200. And let's get over to some stacks. All right. Stack time. All right, so FanDuel, highest owned. We got the White Sox versus Steven Cruz. Makes some sense there. Cruz hasn't been great. Royals bullpen isn't good. White Sox make some sense in one of the higher game total games of the night. Baltimore is always slightly in play, especially when we're not really sure who Cardinals pitcher is going to be. And if this is a bullpen game, you gotta love the Baltimore offense at home versus the Cards versus a poor bullpen. Pirates been hitting versus Washington. They don't have good pitchers. Gotta like that a lot also. I think Houston Astros are probably one of the better teams tonight to select for a stack. I think makes a lot of sense. Paul Blackburn is decent, but that bullpen is terrible. I don't mind Houston, who's been hitting well. Boston's in an interesting spot as well. And I got to bring up the Yankees. I think the Yankees are in a very, very interesting spot. Huck, 4.88 FIP over his last 5. Good hitting environment, so they make a lot of sense. Highest projection. No surprise. We got the Braves versus Chris Sanchez. Look, Sanchez has been very, very good. Braves are going a little under-owned. But Sanchez has been good. However, he's not going to work super deep into the game, and maybe you can get to the bullpen while getting a couple runs against Sanchez, and then it can be kind of interesting. Braves can put points up in bunches, and so it only takes them one inning and one mistake really to get to you. Baltimore we talked about. Texas is a very interesting one. Kikuchi has been extremely good, but when he gives it up, he really gives it up. So at low ownership in a huge GPP, it's absolutely in play and interesting. Phillies are, your leverage one. It is versus Strider. He's giving it up a little bit. Don't love it. I think there's, plenty of places to get different on this big of a slate. Value-wise, we got Toronto versus Jordan Montgomery. I think that is very interesting. Toronto has some very young, cheap, good hitters that can get it done. Baltimore we talked about. Milwaukee, very good versus lefties. So it makes some sense there as well. Oakland versus Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown has been giving up some runs lately, so they're interesting. They also can hit the ball hard, so extra base hits, steals, all that are in play for them. And ceiling, we got Braves, we got Houston, we got Philly. All of them are pretty interesting, and Yankees I like as well. We'll flip to the teams just to make sure I didn't miss anything here. No, we pretty much got all the best ones there, so we're good to go. We'll flip to DraftKings real quick to see if we got anything on Dodgers Padres. Now, I will say this. Blake Snell walks a lot of batters. He also gives up some hard contact. So the Dodgers are interesting. They won't be very high owned because it's versus Blake Snell, but definitely could get runners on. And if runners are on when, one of their guys hits a home run, they put up 3-4 runs, one inning, and then you get to the Padres bullpen a little earlier than expected, you could totally see the Dodgers once again winning somebody some money on DraftKings today. Real quick, we'll just go through so everybody knows ownership. White Sox, highest owned here as well, over 100%. Look, I think the White Sox are a little too high owned because it's the White Sox. They are one of those teams where if they're low owned, I'll consider them if they're in a good spot, but if they're high owned, I'm probably off. I don't like to chase bad teams being high owned or bad hitting teams. Yankees, very interesting. They're second, though, and I think there are probably some other spots you can go, like Houston. Highest projected, we got Dodgers, we got Houston, we got Toronto. All of them make sense. Houston, I do really like in this spot. As I laid out, there is definitely a path for the Dodgers to be successful versus Blake Snell, and they're going low owned, so I think that is an interesting spot there. Value-wise, Oakland's all over it. Makes some sense as we went over. And ceiling, we got Houston, who I've told you I like. Try and talk about the Padres real quick. Super low, 3.7 implied total. Papoy's been very, very good. His FIP, is way higher than his ERA, though. I think there will be some bad luck coming his way relatively soon. Does it happen today? Who knows? I do think that the Padres are able to get to him a little bit. Have seen a 3.7 implied total, though, makes me a little cautious, but I do not mind some Padre stacks versus the Dodgers, at least smaller secondary stacks. Would not be surprised if they're able to hit a couple bombs. Dodgers, one of the higher implied totals. Outside of that, we have gone over everything. So that will do it for us today. A lot of different ways to go. I will be back on Friday with the baseball show, as tomorrow we got football, so I will be focusing on that. And really, I just didn't get the love on the Thursday baseball show last week. We didn't get the views, so no sense in trying to keep forcing that, but I will be back Friday with the show. You guys have a good one. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Here for you guys. If you got some questions, put them down there, and I will answer them. You guys have a good one. See you later. Good luck tonight. Bye.